It's your boy Recruit Zero here, live, Render ATL, another episode of Ultimate Blerds. Of course, Uncle Charles, we back. This is season 2, baby. And we still keeping you with the best experts in their field here at Render ATL. So we here with Tan. She is a software architect and rural tech advocate. And I'm gonna let her jump into it to let y'all know what she's really doing in the community.
Hey, how are you? My name is Tandreia Dixon. Feel free to call me Tan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
I am a software solutions architect and a business process architect.
Awesome.
That's what I do in industry.
Gotcha.
I'm also the founder of Tech Homecoming.
Okay.
It's a nonprofit that provides tech exposure and education for rural communities.
Okay.
Undeserved communities.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So I know you spoke here at Render,
I did,
right?
yesterday.
So you see, we got exclusives out here. Like, you're not getting this on no other podcast. We doing it.
Right.
So we here. All right. So like you said, which one you want to focus on first? Because both of these things are very important.
Absolutely.
I know, of course, the job is cool, but you really doing a major thing with the community.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the rural tech advocacy first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So one thing about me, I am from a one-stoplight town in Eastern North Carolina. It's called Trenton. I mean, y'all, when I open my front door, I see a cornfield, okay? So, I've just been blessed to grow from being that girl from a one-stoplight town to now a global tech professional.
Right.
And in industry, right, I'm an architect, but in my department, I oversee, teams in Europe, the U.S., Latin America, APAC.
Right.
So, with my journey, but still having a heart to serve people.
For sure.
I want to address the tech divide in rural communities. Because as technology is moving fast and it's moving forward, even right now with AI, right?
Yeah.
Things are moving fast.
Exactly.
I want to reach back, right? So that my community won't be left behind.
Right.
So one thing that I talked about yesterday, during my talk, Closing the Tech Divide in Rural Communities, is how do you use human-centered design methods, right? To create digital literacy programs so that rural communities can adopt them. Right. Because we can think that, they may need to learn about AI, but they may not be ready for it, right? So how do you get that buy-in, right? And how do you team up with the community to create solutions that they'll adopt? Because one thing, we, like I mentioned before, we might say they may need to learn about AI, but it could be some grandmother that may want to be able to confidently use Zoom, or somebody's auntie that might want to confidently order online from Amazon or Walmart.
Right.
We have to go take several steps back and meet the community where they are. Or it could be some young adult in your community who's ready for their first professional job, but they need help building a standout LinkedIn profile.
Right.
So it's all about assessing the need, understanding what the community wants to achieve, and meeting them where they are. Right. And that's how you get that buy-in. And then you can go from there to eventually having the AI programming.
Right. The more advanced thing.
Absolutely. That makes sense. But you have to start with human-centered design. And you want to always make sure you use this method called asset framing, because it focuses on what the community wants to achieve and what their strengths currently are, and you want to work on cultivating those things instead of what they lack.
Exactly.
That's when you're going to lock in that buy-in to be successful.
So that's so interesting because, I mean, like growing up, I'm a millennial, so I'm kind of in the last generation of like before the internet was big and growing up with the internet. So I kind of understand both sides, but for the wider world, everybody thinks like that really the narrative behind the internet computers is, it's democratized everything, such and such. But like, you still gotta, if you don't use the same thing, everybody doesn't use the same thing in their daily life as others. Like for me, I'm on Twitter heavy. There's some people that have never been on Twitter, but if you just are locked into that, you think that's the whole world. When it's like, no, like the things you think are normal day to day, that's an advanced level system.
Absolutely.
So,
and it starts with exposure.
Exactly.
You have to be exposed to it, right?
So now, like even though the narrative is, everything's been democratized, things like that. Right. Being able to, what would you see as a true way of keeping people in the loop as things advance, since things are progressing even faster than they were in the past.
Right.
What would you see as like the key factors of making sure people don't get left behind?
Right. So the thing is, going back to what you mentioned, exposure.
Okay.
Right. How can you be what you can't see?
Right.
How can you use what you can't? I mean,
Right.
yeah, you have to make it tangible. You have to provide that exposure, but it takes champions to be willing to go into those, underserved communities, those low-income places, to be champions and community anchors. Everybody's not built for that type of work.
That's true.
And a lot of people aren't humble and meek enough to do the work. So you have to have a heart to serve people.
Right.
And so that's my mission.
Can you talk a little bit about, and I've read about this and heard about this, a lot of times when we talk about rural areas in rural America, we're also talking about infrastructure.
Absolutely.
And so we in Metro Atlanta, like, we get the benefit of fiber.
Right.
Yeah.
Fiber, 5G.
Right.
Some of that has not made its way rurally yet. And so some people might be surprised that some people's, I won't say 56K, but it's like T1, like they're just getting Ethernet. Can you talk about how like infrastructure has also played a part and setting those gaps?
Right. So that's a very important part. So when you look at the definition of what the tech divide is, infrastructure is a big piece. In rural communities, say like my community, during COVID, there were areas in my county, Jones County, places that didn't have internet access. So when Biden signed that huge infrastructure bill, along with the Digital Equity Act, pushing those funds, funding companies to be able to provide infrastructure and the resources and things for areas like mine, that definitely helped. But you hit the nail on the head. Like, we have to have more funding for those areas so that the infrastructure can be built up. Now, here's another thing. Once we have like the infrastructure there, we might have a couple providers. The next thing is price gouging. Because there are limited options, then they might hike the price of internet and really not provide the best service. And some people in the community can't even afford it.
Right.
So, I mean, barrier upon barrier, the tech divide is big, but that's a great point that you made. But it's huge. You have to have the infrastructure.
Do you ever see an instance where the government will start making this kind of like a thing that just needs to happen? Like right now, it's controlled by Comcast and other, service providers, but it kind of being more of a right for all Americans to have this access. Do you think we'll get away sometimes from the profit and more of it just being like a utility that we all must have to succeed?
I'm going to be honest. I believe the big push came during the pandemic when, we had to operate remotely. That's when the government started, approving a lot of these bills for funding for those types of things.
Right.
And now I think that the funding is kind of diminishing, especially with the change of administration. But when Biden, he passed that Digital Equity Act, that was the big push. That's like, all people need this. But it took a pandemic for something like that to happen.
Exactly. So with that, are we talking about the government investment, things like that? Do you feel like tech companies should have kind of like a responsibility to kind of help invest in the infrastructure, help close those gaps, even though, I mean, it may not impact their profit margin as much on a first order, but it's like you investing in those things can bring you more users if you see the second order effects of it.
Absolutely. So I have two minds, right? So if you think about things from the business mind, it comes down to the bottom line.
Of course.
If somebody can make a case for it, then I think the company would say yes. But for me, when I think about my heart to serve people, I would say yes, some companies should have a responsibility, but do they have to? They don't.
Right, of course.
That's because that's their structure. I think everything, at the end of the day, it comes down to the bottom line and profitability.
Right.
It's unfortunate, but we live in a capitalistic society. So I wish the answer would be yes, that every company would, push this digital equity, program or something to be able to help provide access for those in rural communities and underserved communities. But I mean, it's a case by case. It's all about what that community represents and what their culture is.
Have you seen any companies that were like really stand out where like their corporate social responsibility policies where they had these things in mind? Or has it always taken like somebody like you stepping in from externally, bringing that to the forefront of their mind?
So I will say there have been companies to do so, but have any companies come into my community in Eastern North Carolina to do the work? No.
Gotcha.
No. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have taken the stand to do the work that I'm doing now.
So let me ask you, I have a background in instructional design. And so one thing that I learned is that, you know, certain people, depending on the age bracket, sometimes have a fear, right? A fear of looking like they don't know, right? Or fear, not sometimes of the unknown, but they don't want to ask questions.
Right.
How do you help people get over that fear there might be? Because you mentioned like grandmothers and sometimes our seasoned saints, right?
Right, absolutely.
How do you help them get over that fear?
Right. So I think it's depending on how you frame it. So if you're looking to execute some type of program, right, to teach certain skills, I think the first thing is, who are the community anchors that you're going to partner with? So you know if the people in the community trust certain entities, you want to partner with them first.
Right.
And then have them in a safe space, right? And then, you know, start to use, you know, the method called like, you know, asset framing to ask the questions like, what do you want to achieve, you know? And then when you align things so that it's goal oriented and you frame it in a way like I can show you something to help make your life easier or to help you save money, right?
Right.
Or to help to remove a barrier, then you're going to build trust and that fear is going to start to come back a bit.
Right.
So, and that's actually what I talked about in my talk yesterday. But I think those are some of the things. The big thing is you have to ensure that whatever you're solutioning for to help remove that fear, you have to do it with them. You can't just say, oh, I want to teach you something and here it is.
Right.
You have to engage the community to get that trust. And that's going to help, you know, remove that fear.
And it's also, I'm also thinking about generationally, right? Like we were talking, because if your adults, your parents, your elders have that fear or don't know, and it's not the path, you know, like the technology or understanding of technology isn't passed down. It's one of those things. Is it one of those things where an entire town for generations can be like skipped in terms of like having access to technology or catching up?
I'm going to be honest. For some folks and their families, I can see that being possible. Like in my community, they call me the tech lady.
Right.
You know, aunties and uncles and grandmas, is Tan home? You know, is she off work yet? I need help to do such and such.
Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't have that type of person in their life and in their community, I can definitely see that happening.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's some people who don't have people that they can call on. Y'all, this thing is big.
Yeah.
It's massive.
For sure.
And it's something that's been overlooked for a long time.
Right, which only compounds how bad it gets.
It compounds.
Like everything just keeps advancing faster and faster.
Absolutely.
So
we talked about this before, where if all of a sudden all money is starting to go digital, and everything's starting to go digital, and you've never interacted with it the first time you interact with it, you know.
Look, let me tell you something. That's another thing too. My grandmother, I've been working with her on this. She still writes checks. If we're in Walmart, she is writing a check. There's a long line behind her. The people are mad. I'm like, Grandma, come on now. Come on, Grandma. We got the we're gonna move to the debit card, and it's gonna be okay.
Right.
It's gonna be okay. So yeah, but that's the thing.
Debit card, then tap the phone.
Right. Absolutely. But it's definitely, my grandmother is still writing checks.
Yeah.
Grandma, I love you. I love you.
Shout out, Grandma.
Yes. Yeah.
As a community as a whole, you know, a lot of times we find that whenever there's something going on, Black people are always the biggest affected, or it happens to us the worst. Was this another instance in rural situations where Black people are catching it the worst compared to some of our other counterparts?
It's depending on where you are.
Okay.
But you know, there are a lot of African Americans in underserved areas, so it does impact us.
Right.
Well, where I'm from, there's also a substantial Latino, Hispanic population, you know, that I went to school with. You know, it's a lot of agriculture.
Yeah.
So, you know, it impacts them. And there are some, you know, Caucasians who, you know, that I grew up with who, you know, it's impacting them as well.
Right.
So I feel like this, you know, closing the tech divide in rural communities, it doesn't matter your color.
Right.
This thing is impacting everybody that's in those areas. It's huge.
A lot of times you see like these climate change.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times scientists would have to give you the doomsday scenario of what would happen,
Right.
if we continue these things and the ice caps melt.
Right.
What would be the doomsday scenario in this case, 10, maybe 15 years down the line, if this is not solved or rectified?
You know what? I can't even conceptualize what that would be. I'm going to be honest. I don't know.
That's understandable. Because, I mean, I know.
That's one heck of a question.
Yeah.
So, you know,
'Cause
I'm like, whoa.
I know for me personally, like, with the rise of AI, all we get is these conversations about vast swaths of different industries just getting wiped out job-wise
Right.
for just being replaced by AI. So
Right.
that seems like just off the first order of effect, when that starts happening,
Right.
if you're already not in that gap of needing more tech literacy,
Absolutely.
you could get wiped out and not even know why.
Absolutely.
So
And that's you're being blindsided.
Right.
And that's that's what's happening right now.
right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's difficult.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
but it's definitely, I mean, having that tech literacy, super important. Through your work, what do you see being like the next 5-10 years of progress with the work you're doing?
Absolutely.
Since we don't want to talk about the doomsday too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the progress looking
So
like?
what I can see, just how things are going naturally, I could see myself being a champion to help train up other champions in rural communities across the U.S.
Right.
I've actually already had someone from the Bahamas reach out to me.
Okay.
Actually, a pastor at a church
Yeah.
to see if I could come and do some digital literacy training. But what I would want to do is train them methods of
Right.
how to, use like asset mapping and asset framing, so that they can start to understand what their digital ecosystem is.
Right.
Understand what the community needs, and then provide the right digital literacy training that's going to help their community. Because
Gotcha.
every community is different.
Right.
So if I could teach the methodology, right, of how to create the right digital literacy training that the community will adopt based upon the need, I think that is what is going to be optimal for, what I see in the future. So, because I need to, this work goes beyond me.
Right.
So how could I help train other champions
Right.
or partner with other champions to do the work so that we can make a bigger impact,
For sure.
right?
That makes sense.
So that's the thing.
So how can education help? For example, when I was coming up, I learned to type, and I had a computer lab class, and we learned to type, learn about
Same
sharing
here.
files,
Same here.
but I don't think they have that anymore about digital literacy. Is that something that could help, even if the infrastructure isn't always there? Is that something that could help if we bring those types of classes back into the school system?
Absolutely. Or something as simple as, we're talking about computer class. How do you, let's see, email etiquette,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
How do you have a positive digital, a social media footprint, right?
Yeah.
So that when you're applying for a job or, trying to buy a house or whatever you're trying to do, like somebody looks you up and there's nothing crazy up there.
Right.
So it's going back to the basics. And I do believe having those classes and providing that training, it will add value. So
See.
Shifting gears a little bit, could you talk about being a solutions architect? Just what that is, so people might not know.
Yeah, absolutely. So being a solutions architect, you work for a software company.
Yeah.
You have these consultants, right? that meet with, customers who purchase your software. So what you have to do is understand what the business needs.
Right.
And then with the software, the software company you work for with that software, you have to architect and configure that software to meet their business need.
Got it.
Right? Because with most software, you can configure it 1,000 different ways, right? So what you want to do is understand your customer's business need. If there are any gaps, you want to document it, right? Because that might be a customization. And then you want to be able to configure the software to meet their need.
Right.
So that their business processes, the technology will support their business processes, essentially. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what being a software solutions architect is. Yeah.
And how did you find that as your career journey?
Oh man, I went to A&T, Aggie Pride, and so applied engineering technology. So that's how I got started.
Yeah.
Then I went to Purdue, and the industrial technology degree, got my master's from there. And after I graduated, I started working for a consulting company, right? And it was software implementation.
Yeah.
And so that was the very beginning of my career. So most consultants in software implementation fields, if they keep going that technical route, they can become a solutions architect.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's awesome because I've traveled all over the U.S. and helped a lot of companies
For
and
sure.
things like that, from luxury retailers to electronics companies and things like that. So it's, and I'm saying, this small town girl has seen some things and I've been
That's what's up.
exposed.
That's
Yeah,
what's up.
absolutely.
So for the audience,
Yes.
if you could give one piece of advice or information that they take away from this episode, what would it be? It can be, about the rule tech advocacy
Absolutely.
or solutions architect,
Yeah.
whichever one. What would you give as a takeaway?
Whatever you do, no matter how far you get in life, try to find space to serve in some capacity, right? I believe we all have gifts and talents.
For sure.
right? But just find space to be able to find, an opportunity to serve somebody else. And I do feel like that's one of the greatest things that we can do in life. So nothing more amazing than being able to impact somebody else's life in an amazing way.
Right.
So yeah, absolutely.
You hear that? Think outside yourself, help people.
Yes, yes.
That's what we about. We helping you. So
Yes.
keep watching the Ultimate Blerds.
Yes.
We are great. We are so glad we had a chance to talk to you. And we wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Coming to you live from right near ATL. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep.
Peace.